CBD, short for cannabidiol, is a non-psychoactive compound in cannabis responsible for many of cannabis's medical benefits. On the other hand, THC, short for tetrahydrocannabinol, is the psychoactive compound in marijuana that causes the high associated with cannabis use. They are two completely separate cannabinoids, which are a class of chemical compounds that interact with special receptors in our body called cannabinoid receptors. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, an American neurosurgeon and CNN's chief medical correspondent, changed his stance on the prohibition of cannabis while investigating its powerful therapeutic properties and witnessing CBD successfully treat Americans. He shocked mainstream America, saying, "We have been terribly and systematically misled for nearly 70 years in the United States, and I apologize for my role in that." Through Dr. Gupta's review of the history of cannabis, he found that it has been a legitimate medicine for at least 3,000 years. And Dr. Gupta isn't alone in supporting cannabis research. The director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, Dr. Nora Volkov, testified before the Senate saying that CBD appears to be a safe drug with no addictive effects, and the preliminary data suggests that it may have therapeutic value for a number of medical conditions. Research has shown that CBD can influence many conditions and bodily functions, including inflammation, neuropathic pain, autoimmune disease, energy regulation, metabolism, reproductive function, appetite, depression, anxiety, and even cancer. But how can one cannabinoid affect so many bodily processes without causing adverse side effects? The answer lies in our biochemistry, the natural intelligence of the body. We have naturally occurring cannabinoid receptors all over our body that interact with CBD. We have these receptors because our body is constantly making its own cannabinoids. These receptors and cannabinoids make up most of our endocannabinoid system, or ECS. Our ECS is always in action, and if functioning properly, is a major factor in keeping us healthy. Many doctors now think that some people suffer from an endocannabinoid imbalance, known as clinical endocannabinoid deficiency, or CED. People suffering from CED may benefit by supplementing with cannabinoids such as CBD. CBD is the most abundant cannabinoid in hemp, a cannabis crop the federal government allowed individual states to legalize in the 2014 Farm Bill. Hemp-derived CBD is legal in all 50 states, is non-addictive, does not cause a high, and is easy to incorporate into your current health routine.
What is it about hemp that's so controversial? Why is it always in the news lately? And is it only because it's tied to medical marijuana? Can it be good? I'll leave the legal discussion to the lawyers. What I'm interested in are potential health benefits. You know, hemp, cannabis, that plant that can be legally grown all over the world and is often used in marijuana production. With all this news, I decided to do a little digging and to try to figure out why hemp is so controversial. I mean, hard liquor is legal and it has no redeeming health qualities whatsoever. So does hemp have any redeeming qualities? We'll find out. With us is the author of Cancer, Step Outside the Box, Ty Bollinger. Hi, Ty. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Carol.
One of the really incredible things I was reading about in your book was hemp.
Yeah.
Marijuana, basically.
Right.
Tell us the history of hemp, because I found this quite unusual.
Well, hemp has the reputation as being this evil weed. But the medicinal history of hemp is quite fascinating. Back as far back as the 1930s, there were medicinal hemp tinctures in almost every pharmacy in the United States.
Hang on, I want to go even further back.
Yeah.
didn't you write in your book that Washington and Jefferson and Lincoln and all these presidents actually grew hemp, so it was legal to grow everywhere?
They did.
And they could use it as they wanted to use it.
Yes, as a matter of fact, some farmers in the colony of Virginia were required to grow hemp. And so it's such a good fiber, very good for making clothes, a lot of different industrial uses for hemp.
Ford thought it was strong enough to make a car out of it, and he did. It was as strong as steel.
Yeah, one of the first Model Ts was actually made from hemp, and it ran on hemp fuel.
And then the enemy of hemp was William Randolph Hearst.
With paper. Well, yeah,
Explain
with newspapers. Well, hemp is a much more efficient way to make paper. In 1 acre of hemp, you can do 10 times the amount of paper than 1 acre of trees.
So why did he want it outlawed?
Because he owned thousands of acres of forest that when he owned paper.
So this was a political thing. It had really nothing to do with hemp itself.
Exactly. It really didn't. It was more about the money. It was more about eliminating the competition. And so that's why hemp was demonized and thought of as this evil weed. They put out propaganda films like Reefer Madness and so forth to make people afraid of hemp. When in reality, that's one small use of hemp, the recreational use, which is we call it marijuana. But that was a slang term that they developed to make people afraid of it.
Oh, heck, Mary Jane, doobies, everything. I mean,
Exactly.
they've got a lot of slang terms for it. So in the 1930s, they made tinctures. What were they making the tinctures for, and why were they doing these tinctures?
Well, I mean, the medicinal uses of hemp are just numerous. The hemp helps, well, we can talk about the cancer effects of hemp, but it helps with inflammation. It's very anti-inflammatory. It helps with seizures. It's very effective with PTSD for the vets that are coming back that have post-traumatic traumatic stress disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Very effective at treating that. It's an anti-inflammatory. But then the uses of hemp for cancer, what I've studied, because of my book, Cancer Step Outside the Box, and the number of cancers, there's about a dozen different cancers that have been studied in depth with medicinal marijuana, with hemp. And so the studies, from brain cancer to prostate cancer to pancreatic cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, it's amazing.
Okay, so what is in hemp that it's this THC, correct?
Well, there's chemicals that are called cannabinoids.
Right.
THC is short for delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol.
I'm glad you said it because I couldn't.
That's the only time I'll get it right. I'm glad I got it right. So that's the one, THC is the one cannabinoid that everyone's familiar with. That's the one that's psychoactive, and that's the one that gets you high if you smoke it.
Okay.
But there's other cannabinoids. One is called CBD, cannabidiol, and it's very medicinally used. There's no psychoactive component of CBD.
So what do they do? Extract these to make tinctures?
Yeah,
or you can make tea out of?
You can make tea. You can eat it. It's a great superfood. You're into raw. A lot of people use raw hemp in their superfood.
Well, do you get high off of hemp if you eat it as a superfood?
No, well,
or just the seeds.
You've got to heat the THC to make it become psychoactive. So people that eat the plant, they put in a smoothie. You know, there's super green smoothies.
Right.
You're not going to get high off of that because you didn't superheat it.
But is it then, if you put it in the smoothie like that, is it a good prevention to cancer?
It is. It's very well. It's got a perfect ratio of omega-3 to 6 fatty acids. It's got more GLA, gamma-linolenic acid, than any other plant. So it's got some really great fats. You're well aware of the importance of good fats in your diet.
Yeah.
So hemp it's a perfect superfood to eat. But it's also medicinal.
I just never understood why hemp had gotten such a bad rap, and now I understand that it was really politically motivated by somebody who owned basically trees and didn't want to be in competition with the hemp to make paper. And yet, throughout the years after that, so many people suffered because of that.
Yeah.
So I guess it's actually a good thing that people are coming around a little bit.
It is. I'm really encouraged about the different legislation in different states that are trying to legalize medicinal hemp because of the fact that it is so good. It's not just a superfood. It's not just great for industrial uses, as we've mentioned, but it's a really good medicine.
Thank you so much for coming on, Ty. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate it.
Throughout history, a humble yet vitally important plant has contributed to the health and prosperity of civilizations both ancient and new. From the Egyptians to the Chinese, the Romans and the Greeks, from the Vikings of Northern Europe to societies in Africa and all over the globe, from colonial times to the Industrial Revolution, and to modern-day United States. This amazing plant has revolutionized economies, used in textiles, paper, housing, agriculture, making roads, foods, medicines, and fuel. It is said that oil derived from this plant was used for holy anointings. While legend has it this plant grew in southern Mesopotamia, in the most famous garden of all. Described in religious texts that go back thousands of years, And yet, for the last 75 years and more, your access to this plant's remarkable health and prosperity benefits have been blocked. Some say willfully kept from you, for the people who need it the most, and from a planet that strains to keep its balance. At a time when millions struggle financially, barely getting by, and millions more suffer with pain. In a world where economies teeter on the edge of collapse, where the global ecosystem wobbles like a top spinning out of control, betrayed by those who seek to control what you think, what you believe, what you can ingest, and how far you go in life. We now live in a world desperate for the plant that has been wrongfully taken from you. An amazing plant that nourishes the body, enriches the earth, and as you're about to discover, provides you with the ability to make a difference. For your family, your community, and for generations yet to come. Be prepared to witness a story of rebirth, of cultures and economies, of your life, and the life of our precious planet Earth. It's now your time to be part of the solution and learn more about the Canaway hemp lifestyle.